Moxie Media presents the Declaration of Security, DOS, a guide for facility and vessel operators as per MTSA and ISPS regulations. The new maritime security regulations require that facility and vessel operators may be required to complete a declaration of security prior to the commencement of certain activities or operations. This program is designed to inform you of your responsibilities as well as the procedures involved regarding the Declaration of Security. The Declaration of Security, or DOS, is a document that establishes an agreement between a vessel and a facility or between two vessels on security arrangements between the interacting parties. It is the primary means for sharing security measures and clearly designates the security responsibilities of each party during the interaction. The DOS also establishes communication and incident reporting procedures for each party. The DOS is similar in nature to the U.S. Coast Guard's Declaration of Inspection, or DOI, which is required prior to tank barge or tank ship cargo transfers. Like the DOI, the DOS requires that the responsibilities to each party are clarified and agreed upon before the operation is started. 33 CFR 104, which applies to vessels, 33 CFR 105, which applies to facilities, and 33 CFR 106, which applies to outer continental shelf offshore installations, are the United States Maritime Security Regulations referred to as the Maritime Transportation Security Act, or MTSA, that designate when a DOS is required for vessels and facilities operating in U.S. waters. The International Maritime Organization, IMO's International Ship and Port Facility Security Code, or ISPS, is the international regulation that designates DOS requirements for international ports and SOLAS vessels. The DOS requirements can be found in the ISPS code in Section 5 of both Parts A and B. These regulations specify the types of vessels and facilities, the activities and interfaces, and the circumstances that require a declaration of security. The differences in requirements for the U.S. and international regulations are minimal, and their intent is to provide maritime industry personnel a tool to coordinate security efforts. In this program, we will utilize the MTSA's regulations as reference for vessels and ports operating in U.S. waters. The international ISPS standards are essentially the same, although different contracting governments may have different requirements regarding the need to complete a DOS. Vessels transiting to international destinations should determine the DOS requirements of each port of call well in advance of arrival. A vessel, port, facility, or contracting government may request a DOS for any circumstance in which either party determines there is an appropriate security risk or concern. Some of these circumstances may include, but are not limited to, a vessel operating at a higher security level than the port, facility, or other vessel it is interfacing with. There has been a security threat or incident involving either party. A vessel is at a port or facility that is not required to have an approved security plan. A vessel arriving from a port or facility that is not required to have a security plan. A vessel is conducting vessel-to-vessel activities with another vessel not required to have a security plan. Or, the requirement to complete a DOS in certain circumstances is included in the vessel's or facility's approved security plan. When required, the security measures designated in the DOS to each party will remain in place throughout the time a vessel is moored at the facility or for the duration of the vessel-to-vessel interface. The requirement to complete a DOS may change for certain vessels and facilities at each different security or MARSEC level. While operating in U.S. waters at security or MARSEC Level 1, only cruise ships and manned vessels carrying certain dangerous cargoes, known as CDCs in bulk, as defined in 33 CFR 160.203, are required to complete a DOS if there is a vessel-to-facility interface or a vessel-to-vessel activity. A vessel-to-facility interface means the interaction that occurs when a vessel is involved with the movement of persons, goods, or cargo to or from the vessel while moored at the facility. Some examples of vessel-to-facility interfaces could include embarking and disembarking of passengers, vessel crew changes, receiving stores or supplies, and the transfer of cargo. A vessel-to-vessel activity means any activity not related to a facility that involves the transfer of goods or persons from one vessel to another. Some examples of vessel-to-vessel activities could include midstream crew transfers, midstream receiving of stores or supplies, and fueling or bunkering. At security or MARSEC levels 2 and 3, all manned vessels to which the security regulations apply must complete a DOS if there is a vessel-to-vessel activity or a vessel-to-facility interface. This would include passenger barges, manned barges, and uninspected towing vessels, regardless of whether they are towing or not. If a vessel is simply moored at a facility and there is no vessel-to-facility interface, a DOS is not required. Unmanned barges and barge fleeting facilities are exempt from the requirement to complete a DOS, although the towing vessel associated with the barges may be required to adhere to the DOS procedures if the barge is under the control of the towing vessel during an interface. At MARSEC levels 1 and 2, vessels that frequently interface with the same facility may implement a continuing DOS or multiple visits, provided that the DOS is valid for the specific MARSEC level. The effective period at MARSEC level 1 does not exceed 90 days, and the effective period at MARSEC level 2 does not exceed 30 days. If the MARSEC level increases, the continuing DOS is voided and a new DOS must be completed for the appropriate MARSEC level. The local Coast Guard captain of the port may, at any time and at any MARSEC level, require any manned vessel to implement a DOS as deemed necessary. You should check with your company's security officer or facility security officer if there is any question that a DOS is required. The regulations require specific procedures to be followed when implementing a declaration of security. The details and particulars of the security responsibilities contained in the DOS should be coordinated and agreed upon prior to arrival at the facility or before any vessel-to-vessel activity. The information contained in the DOS is considered sensitive security information, and caution must be used when communicating particulars of the document. Utilize the most secure available equipment, such as encrypted email or a secure satellite phone, when communicating any security-related information. Avoid using a VHF or single sideband radio. The vessel security officer or designated representative and the facility security officer or designated representative must sign the completed DOS upon arrival and prior to the embarkation or disembarkation of any persons or commencement of a cargo transfer operation. A copy of the completed DOS must be retained aboard the vessel for the last 10 implemented declarations of security or for 90 days after the expiration of a continuous DOS. At the facility for all previous single-visit declarations of security and for 90 days after the expiration of any continuous DOS, and aboard any outer continental shelf facility for 90 days after the effective period. The DOS requires an exchange of pertinent information from both parties. This information should include the name of the vessel or vessels and the name of the waterfront facility, the validation dates and duration of the declaration of security, the MARSEC or security level for which the DOS is valid, the date of issuance of the DOS, the IMO number of the vessel if it is a foreign or SOLAS vessel, and the registry of all foreign vessels, the name and title of the VSO and the FSO, including contact information with addresses, the signature of the master or vessel security officer or the appointed designee, and the signature of the facility security officer or the appointed designee. The DOS form is not standardized in format, but includes security responsibilities that must be followed and agreed upon by each party for specific security activities. The clarification and understanding of each party's security duties during the interface is the main objective of implementing a declaration of security. The DOS form may require a signature, an initial, or the circling of the responsible party adjacent to each activity. Some forms may require a brief description of security duties for both parties for each activity. The specific security activities found on a typical DOS may include an established means of communication between the vessel and the facility. Both parties should agree on the method of communication to be maintained for the duration of the operation. Phone numbers and radio frequencies should be exchanged and agreed upon to ensure continual contact between the vessel and the facility. The procedure for communicating sensitive security information should be coordinated to avoid any security breaches. The method to raise an alarm in the event of a security incident should be arranged. A vessel whistle signal, a facility horn or siren, or even a secret keyword or code announced over the public address system or transmitted over a monitored radio frequency could be utilized. Regardless of the alarm signal, it is imperative that vessel and facility personnel are informed of the prearranged alarm signal. The responsibility for reporting any security nonconformities and notifying the appropriate governmental agencies should be prearranged. An exchange of port-specific contact information may be required to familiarize vessel operators of the local governmental authorities. The contact information may include telephone numbers and radio frequencies for the local U.S. Coast Guard Marine Safety Office, the port or harbor police, and other local law enforcement or emergency response agencies. Coordinating the responsibility for checking identification and screening of passengers, crew, luggage, hand-carried items, vessel stores and supplies, cargo, and vehicles. Arrangements for coordinating and controlling access to the vessel must be agreed upon before any transfer of personnel, stores, or cargo. Clarification of these security actions is important to ensure that an unauthorized entry to the vessel or facility is prevented. The responsibility for searching and monitoring the berth, wharf, or piers directly surrounding the vessel must be established. The responsibility for monitoring and providing any required security of the waterside area surrounding the vessel. The responsibility for monitoring restricted areas at the facility and aboard the vessel to ensure that only authorized personnel have access. The verification by both parties of any increase in the MARSEC or security level. An increase in security levels requires a revision of the existing DOS or the implementation of a new DOS to establish the appropriate additional protective measures required at the elevated security level. The establishment of protocol to coordinate the response between the vessel and the facility to any acts that may threaten either the vessel or the facility. The response procedure following an alarm should be reviewed and coordinated. These procedures could include stopping all cargo transfers, securing the vessel, or even evacuating the facility. Each party must have a clear understanding of the response duties required in the event of a security incident. And finally, ensuring the performance of all security duties during the vessel-to-vessel activity or the vessel-to-facility interface. The new security regulations contain many added responsibilities and duties for maritime industry personnel. There are different security requirements for different vessels and facilities. A change in the security level may require additional or different security measures. The requirements are new to all personnel, including the governmental agencies responsible for enforcing the regulations. At times, the regulations may seem confusing, if not overwhelming. The declaration of security should be used as a checklist by vessel crews and facility personnel. When executed properly, the DOS will assist crews and facility personnel in ensuring that all the necessary security measures required to deter or prevent a transportation security incident have been performed. The DOS provides maritime industry personnel a means to make certain that no security measures or duties have been overlooked. Each party is confirming and agreeing to its security responsibilities. By completing the DOS form, both parties can be assured that arrangements for security measures for all the listed activities will be handled by the vessel crew, the facility personnel, or by both. Maritime security is a cooperative effort. Vessel crews, waterfront facility personnel, and law enforcement agencies must work together to help protect their industry, the waterways, and most importantly, each other. If you have any questions regarding the Declaration of Security, see your vessel security officer, the company security officer, the facility security officer, or your captain.